Okay, everybody, well, very exciting part of the Makers and Movers, the chain event. Together with Knut Alicke by my side, the co-author, together we have written Source to Soul. So, Knut, great to have you here with me, with us. Also, as a funny sharing, perhaps I should start by saying that this is the first time me and Knut actually meet in person. Welcome and glad to have you.
Thanks a lot, Radu. Very happy to be here. And indeed, we only met over Zoom and Teams and whatever online media we had. And now to be in person is very nice.
And maybe to tell you all a little bit the story of this book, or how me and Knut came up with the idea of writing this. So we were both kind of thinking, how can we make supply chain at large and leadership and stories in supply chain more visible? Because there's so many great people, there's so many exceptional leaders in this field. So that's when I think we were over a Zoom call, and we were talking about other things, and we're like, how about we try to compile some of these best leaders, best stories in one book? And well, here it is, 12, 14 months later, Source to Soul. Hopefully you will enjoy it. Knut, how was it for you?
It was a very interesting experience. And indeed, when we had some chats, I would say it started as some jokes, right? So we said that, hey, supply chain people cannot really tell stories. They only like their numbers. And then we said, maybe we should do something. Maybe we should educate them. And then we came with the idea, maybe we can just find some people who can tell great stories. And then we said that, supply chain people also often do not make it to the board, even though they really have the end-to-end view. So we said, maybe we find some people who can tell stories, who are at the board and have a supply chain background. So that was a great starting point. And then it also felt like after having a couple of interviews, we found more and more people, and the stories were really great, really enlightening. So I enjoyed the journey a lot, I must say.
Absolutely. And you will see the readers, you will see there's 26 exceptional stories in the book. Each and every one of them has a particular angle, because there's not exactly two contributors that had exactly the same path, right? We have from CEOs of very large companies that came from a strong logistics or supply chain background. We have chief operations officers, chief supply chain officers. We have entrepreneurs that built companies within transport logistics over a course of time and share how that was possible. So I think it's each and every one of them brings a certain uniqueness. And I think also what is very interesting, or we hope inspiring as well, about these stories is that each of them have certain principles. Some are quite characteristic to the individual. Some are quite, I would say, universal. So there's a lot to take, no matter if you're just starting your career in supply chain, if you're even just a student in supply chain, whether you're mid-management, whether you're in a senior level position as well, whether you're not exactly actually in supply chain, but you're starting to think that maybe that's a field that you want to go into, because you see that now supply chain is everywhere. Supply chain is in demand. There's more MBAs doing supply chain than there are doing finance. So whichever angle you might find yourself at, I think this book can present a pretty interesting scenario in which you can learn and hopefully be inspired.
And indeed, we need much more supply chain professionals. So in our daily work, we see that everyone is looking for this talent. And there was also interesting finding in the interviews. So there was no standard career path. So we were in the beginning, we were looking for, is there some pattern? Is there some pattern that we can see and that you can follow? And it's not. So people have completely different backgrounds. They kind of went through completely different roles, and they ended up in being super successful in managing supply chains, managing operations, managing whole companies, with the experience in end-to-end. And that clearly helped them to do better than others. So very interesting insights. Please check it out.
And also, I think we are seeing clearly a trend that more and more companies have realized, look, supply chain is the crux of our business. Supply chain makes or breaks our business. And I think also we're seeing a very clear trend that more CEOs and board members are actually being appointed from a supply chain perspective. So I think that's hopefully also this books just come to confirm the essential role as well as the leadership role that supply chain should have on the one side. And on the other side, I think it's also meant to inspire people to realize that, look, whilst there's no one track, there is, however, some commonalities. We have something in the book that is called the chain model, that we will tell you a little bit more at length what it means and what it stands for. And there are some timeless principles, like everything in life. There's some timeless principles in the chain model that each of us can apply to become a very good supply chain leader and really make a mark, both in our companies, both as an executive, as well as a mentor, as well as a role model for the future generation.
One story I found inspiring from the book, talking about telling the story. We had one of the contributor, very successful lady operating supply chains, and in the pandemic, in the disruption, where everyone blamed supply chains to go that nothing is working. Actually, the opposite was the case. We just had so much demand that supply chains did the utmost possible. So in this lockdown, in this critical situation, she receives a call in the morning from her mother, and her mother asked her whether she can fill up inventory to be able to deliver. And this is exactly what you want to have. You want to have your parents to understand what's going on. You want to have politicians understand what's going on. And you want to have the board to understand what's going on, and then to prepare for the future and make sure that your supply chain is resilient. So that was something that struck me, and I found this very inspiring.
And there's many such stories, actually. So we have one of the contributors is, probably 50, 60 years in the industry, and he was saying that for the first time his kids, his grandparents knew and asked him and finally understood, his wife even finally understood what is supply chain, because of, you see it everywhere. We saw it in the news, we saw it in the press, we keep seeing it. So I think that was quite funny to observe. I think also what is quite unique about the different sharings of each of the individuals' journeys is the sense of purpose and vision that they tend to have around supply chain. Even if a lot of them, and in truthfulness, there's no school to teach supply chain yet. I mean, we have more and more programs. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done around that aspect of the academic preparation of people to have a solid supply chain background. But that didn't used to happen. Supply chain is fairly new. It's in the last 20 years or so, right? Who knows better, when it became a proper, if you want, function. So there's a lot of stories of people that accidentally fell into supply chain. In fairness, maybe we should share our own individual stories too. I fell into supply chain. I am completely not an expert of supply chain. I've become a passionate sponsor, or as well as a very passionate about the field myself 10 years ago, when I happened to become to do executive search in supply chain, and then I just fell in love. Mostly, first and foremost, to be honest, with the people. I think it's all about the people, the fact that they tend to be by and large pragmatic, getting things done, problem solvers, people that, if you want, take no nonsense, but get things done. They are the people that kept us, in truthfulness, kept the world running in the height of the pandemic when everything was closed. It's the supply chain professionals, the couriers, the aviation, the shipping line workers, the warehouse operators. All these people kept us, all of us, right, fed. We had medicine, we had the necessities. Okay, maybe we lacked some things, but by and large, they kept us going. So for me, that gave me a large sense of meaning to put this together, or to help put this book together, because it's almost singing praises finally to a large chunk or a large proportion of this unsung heroes that make us all and make the world go around in a well-oiled way.
And how I fell in supply chain, or I came in supply chain, I basically, when I started my PhD, that was when I started supply chain. And this is kind of back then, I found it super interesting to manage complex systems. And that's kind of where I stayed, right? And not like Radu, kind of by coincidence, it was a bit more planned, but then I kind of moved around in different industries. And as a consultant, you kind of tend to see a lot, right? You see complex systems, you see kind of big companies, small companies. And I would agree that the people is what is exciting about supply chain. when we did the interviews, I found it very interesting how humble everyone was. The humbleness was kind of one of the red threads through the book. Even though they became COOs, they became CEOs, the humbleness was what was really inspiring. So I'm probably around to stay for another couple of years in supply chain to make sure that we develop talent and we use latest and greatest to make sure that the world keeps turning. It's a very interesting topic. So please look through the book, enjoy, and also tell us what you think and what your experiences were.
Exactly. And on that note, absolutely, I want to encourage everybody. Of course, we also have a promotion, by the way, for whoever is watching this at this time, right? So on the first week on Amazon, you can get the book at a very, at a very promotional price, right? The ebook. You can share it with friends. The intention that Knut and myself have is to make this as readily and as available to everybody, because there's a wealth of knowledge that we hope will help a lot of people. As well, stay close, because we're going to be putting out some content very soon after this. You're going to find a little bit more details about the chain model, what each individual letter stands for, and how you can become a good leader in supply chain. And of course, right, we live in the era of social media. So if you do enjoy the book, tell me, tell Knut what you thought. Leave us a review, share on social media. We would be very happy to see you there. And we hope you all like it a lot.
I'm honored to have contributed to a chapter in the book Source to Sold. I agreed to be a part of this book project because I personally believe that supply chain is such an important element of any company. Supply chains impact company performance, they impact industry performance, they impact economic performance. And my hope for the global supply chain is that we will continue to highlight and elevate the need for professionals to join in supply chain roles. Supply chain needs people who like to solve complex problems, people who like to dream about capabilities and disruptive technologies of the future and build capabilities to make them happen.
Supply chain has gone from a relatively unknown profession to becoming center stage. It also has been mostly a male-dominated profession. I participated in the book to share my experiences and hopefully attract more women to make supply chain part or all of their career journey. I believe supply chain is where innovation meets execution. The playbooks that have run for the last 30 years have to change. And so if you're someone who likes to solve big problems and make an impact on the world, From Source to Sold will provide you with numerous proof points that it's an exciting time to be part of the supply chain. My one wish for the global supply chain community is in the next 5 years to make a substantial impact on lowering the carbon footprint for the planet.
Hi, I'm Professor Jay Lee. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to see this new book released to the public. We believe the supply chain issue has been a challenging one for many, many years, but in particular during the period of the COVID. From many perspectives, I believe one most important thing is to design the supply chain, make them more reconfigurable and resilient. Of course, it's not free, and you have to rethink about the redesign the product, and in terms of how do you make them and how you physically provide such a system with a resilient operation. And so in general, I think my suggestion is to look at this whole book from 3P perspective. First P is a purpose. What is the purpose of the future supply chain based on global and regional needs? Second, what's your problems you're facing, right? What do you need to solve? Then third, process. You develop a SOP or some reconfigurable management system to support that purpose. So in summary, we're very pleased to see this book announced to the public, and we believe it'll be great value for the readers. Thank you for all the efforts.
Hello everyone, my name is Ken Allen and I spent 37 great years of my career with DHL, working in every region of the world and for the last 13 years as global CEO. Together with my friend Yoda, we traveled the world espousing the philosophy of do or do not, there is no try. My one wish for the global supply chain industry is that we do speak up and we do show people what an amazing job we do on a day-to-day basis. Just think about it. Every single product that you have in your hands today has been brought to you by a fast, efficient, global logistics supply chain. And we need to keep that going. We need to get young people and graduates into our industry. They need to be able to see that there's a great future for them. And the new book that's coming out now, From Source to Sold, I think says it all. We are going to continue that efficiency drive and make the world a much smaller place. So please, buy and enjoy the book.
Why I wanted to contribute to the book was that I think it's really important that I share what I've learned working in the supply chain for the last 40 years with others. I think there's things that people can use from that to help them grow and advance their career. My one wish for the global supply chain community is that they start to take charge of the supply chain as part of a growth enabler for the companies they work for. We can't just pull cost out and expect it to be as resilient as it can be. We've proven that, and I think it's really important that we look at the supply chain differently in the future and more of a growth enabler.
So why have I joined this book project? Well, one, I was asked, which is one thing, but two, I also believe that what we should be doing is sharing our knowledge, sharing our experience, sharing our flaws, so that everybody knows that at the end of the day, we are perfectly imperfect human beings trying to do the best that we can everywhere that we operate in supply chain. Basically, sometimes people think we've got it all and at our level, and basically that we are perfect, and we're not. So let's share that learning. Let people understand that it's only people trying to do the right thing and surrounding themselves by brilliant people to enable them to do it. That's why I joined, to share what I've learned, share what I've found as something that I need to improve on, and share as things that I can do well with others. And then what do I wish for the supply chain community in total is, one, that we stay strong, because it's really tough these days, and I don't think it's going to get that much easier in the short term, but also that we continue to be open and vulnerable and learn from each other. That for me is hugely important in terms of what we do. So here's to my wish that we keep talking to each other, we work and connect, and we change the world through supply chain across the globe together.
I decided to contribute to this book to be able to communicate two core beliefs I have, having worked in the supply chain for a long time. The first one is, do not lose your personal resilience in the face of external disruptions. And we have seen enough of these disruptions in the last few years, starting from the pandemic and now the Ukraine war and so on. It's important that as supply chain professionals who are working with this external environment, we keep our composure and we don't allow ourselves to break down. If we do, then we contribute nothing. The second belief I have is that never work for the supply chain for the supply chain. Work for the supply chain for the business. We make our mark by delivering value to the business, not by doing something which may sound very jazzy for the supply chain, but it captures no value for the business. I hope through the examples and the illustrations which I have given in the chapter in the book, I'm able to communicate this message to you. Wish you all the best. Happy reading.
Hello, I'm Yossi Shefi. I'm a professor of engineering at MIT and director of the MIT Center for Transportation Logistics. I was very gratified to be asked to participate in this project, which I believe in wholeheartedly. And in terms of what I wish for the supply chain community, which now after the pandemic everybody realized how important it is I think the next challenge is not only to introduce digital systems into all our processes, but to find out the best way for people and systems, people and technology to work together. What exactly is the role of people when they work with AI? How much should people give to the AI? How much the AI should make the decision? How much the people should make the decision? To me, it seems one of the biggest next challenges. But on this happy occasion of the launch of the book, congratulations to everybody. Have a good day.
From the conversations and from source to sold, it's clear that there is no one path to success in supply chain. Contributors to this book have varying personal and professional backgrounds. They lead supply chains through varied experiences in different cultural and geographical contexts. Yet, there are some pronounced themes running through each of their leadership stories, which offer important insights into what it takes to be a successful supply chain leader. These themes can be neatly summarized through what we call the Supply Chain Model for Supply Chain Leadership, or CHAIN, C-H-A-I-N, which stands for collaborative, holistic, adaptable, influential, narrative. Don't forget to discover the other themes inside the CHAIN model. Check out the book's companion courses at the Alcott Global Academy on all 5 themes and more.